A single father's midnight rescue of a kidnapped child should have been the end of the story. But when 6-year-old Mia's mother arrived at the police station, Tom's world shattered. Standing before him was Lisa, the college sweetheart who vanished without explanation, taking his heart with her 15 years ago. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Tom Wilson wiped his tired eyes as he drove home from his second job. The clock on his old car showed 11:30 p.m. His 8-year-old daughter Emma would be asleep by now, but he always checked on her when he got home. Life wasn't easy for Tom. 3 years ago, his wife Sarah had died in a car accident, leaving him to raise Emma alone. He worked 2 jobs, one at a factory during the day and another cleaning offices at night. Every dollar mattered. Emma's school clothes, her lunch money, the rent, it all added up. But Tom never complained. Emma was his whole world. Her smile made every difficult day worth it. When she laughed, it was like sunshine breaking through clouds. When she hugged him good night, all his worries melted away. As he drove through the quiet streets, Tom noticed something strange. A car was parked on the side of the road with its hazard lights on. Tom slowed down. He could see 2 men standing near the car and they seemed to be arguing with someone. Tom's heart stopped when he saw a small figure, a child, trying to run away from the men. The little girl couldn't have been more than 6 years old, and she was clearly terrified. Without thinking twice, Tom pulled over and jumped out of his car. His father instincts kicked in immediately. "Hey," he shouted. "What's going on here?" The 2 men looked surprised. One of them was holding the little girl who was crying and struggling to get away. Her small hands were pushing against the man's arms, but she was too weak to escape. "Nothing to worry about, friend," one man said with a fake smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Just a family matter." But Tom could see the pure terror in the little girl's eyes. This wasn't right. Something was very wrong here. "Let her go," Tom said firmly, stepping closer. His heart was pounding, but he knew he couldn't walk away from this. "Mind your own business," the second man growled, his voice threatening. The little girl looked at Tom with desperate, pleading eyes. "Help me, please. These men took me from the park. I don't know them." Tom's protective instincts exploded. This was someone's child, scared and in danger. He thought of Emma and knew he had to act no matter what happened to him. "I said let her go," Tom repeated, pulling out his phone with shaking hands. "I'm calling the police right now." The first man panicked when he saw the phone. He roughly pushed the little girl toward Tom and both men ran to their car. Tom caught the child as she stumbled, and the car sped away into the night, leaving behind only the smell of burning rubber. The little girl was shaking like a leaf and crying so hard she could barely breathe. Tom knelt down to her level, his own hands trembling from the adrenaline. "It's okay now," he said as gently as he could. "You're safe. Those bad men are gone. What's your name, sweetheart?" "Mia," she whispered through her tears, her small body still shaking. "Hi Mia, I'm Tom. You're very brave. Can you tell me your mommy's phone number?" But Mia just cried harder, overwhelmed by everything that had happened. Tom realized she was too scared and upset to remember anything clearly. "It's okay," Tom said softly, taking off his jacket and wrapping it around her small shoulders. "Let's get you somewhere warm and safe and we'll call the police. They'll help us find your family." Tom carefully lifted Mia and put her in his car, making sure she felt secure. At the police station, Officer Martinez took their statement, asking gentle questions and documenting everything that had happened. "You did the right thing, Mr. Wilson," the officer said, his respect for Tom clear in his voice. "You probably saved this little girl's life. We'll check missing person reports and try to find her family as quickly as possible." But there was a problem. It was almost midnight and Mia was exhausted and frightened. She had fallen asleep in the chair, still clutching Tom's jacket like it was a security blanket. The officer explained that child services wouldn't be available until morning. "What happens to her tonight?" Tom asked, looking at the sleeping child with concern. "We'll have to keep her here at the station until we can arrange something in the morning," Officer Martinez said sadly. "It's not ideal, but it's protocol." Tom looked at the scared little girl sleeping uncomfortably in the hard chair and made a decision that came straight from his heart. "She can stay with me tonight. I have a daughter about her age. She'll be more comfortable in a real home with a real bed." After some paperwork and background checks that confirmed Tom was a respected member of the community with no criminal record, the police agreed to let him take Mia home for the night. Tom carried sleeping Mia into his small apartment as carefully as he could. Emma woke up when she heard them come in. "Daddy?" Emma called softly from her room, her voice sleepy and confused. "It's okay, sweetheart. Come here for a minute." Emma came out in her pink pajamas, rubbing her sleepy eyes. When she saw Mia in her father's arms, her face immediately filled with concern and curiosity. "Who is she, Daddy? Is she okay?" Tom explained what had happened, using simple words so Emma would understand without being too frightened. He told her about the bad men and how Mia needed a safe place to sleep. "She must be so scared," Emma said with the innocent wisdom that only children possess. "Can she sleep in my room? I don't want her to be alone and afraid." Tom's heart swelled with pride. Despite all their struggles and the hardships they had faced, his daughter had learned kindness and compassion. She was willing to share her space with a stranger who needed help. They set up a small bed in Emma's room using extra blankets and pillows. Mia woke up briefly when they moved her, still confused and frightened by her strange surroundings. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice small and scared. "You're safe," Emma said, taking Mia's hand with the natural gentleness of a child. "This is my daddy Tom. He's the kindest person in the whole world. He saved you from those bad men. And I'm Emma. Do you want to be friends?" Something about Emma's gentle voice and Tom's caring presence made Mia feel safer than she had all evening. For the first time that night, she stopped crying and managed a small smile. "My mommy is looking for me," Mia said quietly, worry still clear in her voice. "Don't worry," Tom assured her, tucking the blanket around her. "We'll find your mommy tomorrow, I promise. Tonight, you just rest and feel safe." The next morning, Tom made pancakes for both girls, something he usually only did on special occasions because it took extra time he didn't have. But today was different. He had called in sick to his day job. Finding Mia's family was more important than the money he would lose. Mia seemed much calmer in the bright daylight. She played with Emma's toys and even smiled and laughed a few times as Emma showed her different games. The two girls seemed to connect instantly as if they had been friends for years. "Can you remember your mommy's name?" Tom asked gently as they ate breakfast together. "Mommy's name is Lisa," Mia said, her face brightening at the mention of her mother. "Lisa Chin. We live in the blue house with white flowers in the front yard." Tom wrote this information down carefully. It wasn't much to go on, but it was a start and every detail might help. The phone rang and Tom's heart jumped. It was Officer Martinez with news. "Mr. Wilson, we found something. A woman named Lisa Chin reported her daughter missing last night around 9 p.m. The description matches perfectly. Can you bring Mia to the station so we can reunite them?" Tom's heart raced with excitement and relief. "Did you hear that, Mia? We found your mommy." Mia's face lit up with pure joy, but then she looked suddenly sad too, her emotions conflicted. "Will I see Emma again?" she asked, looking between her new friend and Tom. Emma hugged her tight. "Of course you will. We're friends now. Right, Daddy?" Tom smiled, though his own heart ached a little. In just one night, Mia had somehow become part of their small family. But she belonged with her mother, and that's what mattered most. At the police station, Tom watched as a young woman paced nervously in the waiting area. She was probably in her late 20s, with long black hair and eyes red from crying and worry. She looked like she hadn't slept all night. "Mommy?" Mia shouted, breaking away from Tom and running toward the woman. The woman, Lisa, dropped to her knees and caught Mia in her arms. Both were crying with relief and overwhelming joy. It was one of the most beautiful moments Tom had ever witnessed. "My baby, my precious baby," Lisa sobbed, holding Mia as if she would never let her go again. "I thought I'd lost you forever. I was so scared." Tom stood back with Emma by his side, watching the reunion with a mixture of happiness and sadness. This was what mattered, a child safe with her mother, a family whole again. But then something strange happened. Lisa looked up at Tom through her tears and her face went completely pale. She stared at him like she had seen a ghost from her past. "Tom," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Tom Wilson." Tom looked more closely at the woman's face, studying her features. Something about her seemed familiar, but he couldn't quite place where he might know her from. "Do we know each other?" he asked, confused by her reaction. Lisa stood up slowly, still holding Mia tightly in her arms, her eyes never leaving Tom's face. "Tom, it's me. Lisa. Lisa Parker. From college." The words hit Tom like a physical blow. Suddenly, his world tilted completely off its axis. Lisa Parker. The girl he had loved more than anything in the world 15 years ago. The girl who had disappeared from his life without any explanation, breaking his heart into a million pieces that had taken years to put back together. The police station seemed to fade away as Tom stared at Lisa, unable to believe what he was seeing. Memories flooded back like a broken dam, overwhelming him with their intensity. They had met in college during their sophomore year. Lisa was studying art with dreams of becoming a teacher, and Tom was in engineering. She was beautiful, intelligent, creative, and had a laugh that could light up any room. They fell deeply, completely in love and talked constantly about marriage, about building a wonderful life together after graduation. But then, during their senior year, everything changed. Lisa suddenly stopped returning his calls. When he went to her apartment, her roommate said she had moved away suddenly. No goodbye, no explanation, no forwarding address. She had simply vanished from his life as if she had never existed. Tom had been absolutely heartbroken. It had taken him years to recover from the pain and confusion. Eventually he had met Sarah, married her, and thought he had completely moved on from his past. But now Lisa was here, standing right in front of him, holding her daughter, the child Tom had saved. I can't believe it's really you, Tom said, his voice shaking with emotion. Lisa's eyes were filled with tears and something that looked like regret. Tom, I can explain everything. I know you must hate me for what I did. But first, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for saving my daughter. When I think about what could have happened to her. Officer Martinez cleared his throat respectfully. Perhaps you folks would like to continue this conversation somewhere more private? You obviously have a lot to talk about. They went to a small cafe near the police station, a quiet place where they could talk without interruption. Emma and Mia sat at a nearby table, coloring pictures and becoming fast friends, while Tom and Lisa sat across from each other with 15 years of questions hanging heavy in the air between them. Why did you leave? Tom asked quietly, his voice full of old pain. We were supposed to get married after graduation. I had bought the ring. I had planned our entire future together. How could you just disappear without a word? Lisa wiped away tears that had started flowing again. Tom, I was sick. Really, really sick. I had cancer. Tom felt like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. What? The doctors found it during what was supposed to be a routine checkup, Lisa continued, her voice breaking. Lymphoma. They said I needed to start treatment immediately, and even then my chances of survival weren't good. I was 21 years old and suddenly facing the very real possibility of death. But why didn't you tell me? Tom's voice was full of anguish. I would have stayed with you through everything. I would have fought beside you every step of the way. That's exactly why I couldn't tell you, Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper. You were so young, so full of dreams and plans. You had just gotten that amazing job offer. I couldn't let my illness destroy your future too. I thought I was going to die, Tom. I didn't want you to waste the best years of your life watching me fade away. Tom felt a mixture of anger and heartbreak churning in his chest. That wasn't your choice to make, Lisa. I loved you with everything I had. Don't you think I deserved to know? Don't you think I deserved the chance to make my own decision? I thought I was protecting you, Lisa said, tears streaming down her face. I thought I was being noble and selfless. I realize now how wrong I was, how much pain I caused you. But at the time, I was terrified and not thinking clearly. Lisa continued her story, her voice growing stronger as she spoke. The treatment was absolutely horrible. Months and months of chemotherapy that made me sick constantly. I lost all my hair, my strength, my hope. My parents took me back home to Seattle to live with them. I spent 2 years fighting for my life, and there were many times when I thought I wouldn't make it. Tom listened, his heart breaking for the young woman he had loved, facing such terror and pain all alone. But somehow, miraculously, I survived, Lisa said with a sad smile. The doctor said my recovery was remarkable. By the time I was healthy enough to think about rebuilding my life, 2 years had passed. I heard through mutual friends that you had moved away and gotten married. I thought you were happy, living the life you deserved. I never moved far, Tom said quietly. Sarah and I met 3 years after you left. But I never stopped wondering what happened to you. I never completely got over losing you. Lisa nodded sadly, understanding the pain she had caused. I got married too to David Chin. He was a doctor who had helped during my treatment. He was kind and patient, and he helped me heal in many ways. We had Mia, and for a while, I thought I had finally found peace and happiness. What happened to him? Tom asked gently. David died in Afghanistan 2 years ago, Lisa said, her voice growing quiet. He was a military doctor, volunteering to help soldiers. An explosion at the base hospital killed him and several others. I'm so sorry, Tom said, and despite everything between them, he truly meant it. He didn't want Lisa to suffer any more pain. So now it's just Mia and me, Lisa continued. I work as a kindergarten teacher and we live quietly in a small house. Yesterday was the first time I had ever let Mia play at the park by herself. I only went inside the community center for 5 minutes to use the bathroom and get a drink of water. When I came back, she was gone. Her voice broke again as she relived the terror of that moment. I searched everywhere, screaming her name. Other parents helped me look. Someone said they saw a car speeding away, but by then it was too late. I called the police immediately, but I was so scared we'd never find her. Emma and Mia had finished their coloring and were now sharing a cookie, their heads close together as they whispered and giggled. Their innocent friendship was a bright spot in the heavy conversation. I can't believe you're here, Lisa said, watching Tom's face carefully. After all these years, after everything that's happened. And you saved my daughter's life. Anyone would have done the same thing, Tom said modestly. No, Lisa shook her head firmly. Not everyone would have risked their own safety for a stranger's child. But that's who you always were, Tom. You always put others before yourself, always did the right thing no matter the cost. They sat in silence for a long moment, both lost in their own thoughts and memories. The weight of the past and the complexity of the present hung between them. I'm sorry, Lisa whispered, her voice full of regret. I'm so sorry for leaving the way I did. I was young and scared and sick, and I made a terrible mistake. I broke your heart, and I've regretted it every day since. Tom looked at her, really looked at her. The years had been kind to Lisa. She was still beautiful, but he could see the sadness in her eyes, the weight of loss and struggle she had carried for so long. We were both young, Tom said finally. We both made mistakes. I should have tried harder to find you, to understand what happened. You had your own life to live, Lisa replied. And you did live it. You had a daughter, a wife who loved you. I'm glad you found happiness even if it wasn't with me. Sarah died 3 years ago, Tom said quietly. Car accident on a rainy night. She was coming home from her sister's house. Lisa's hand instinctively reached across the table, almost touching his before she pulled back, unsure if comfort would be welcome. I'm so sorry, Tom. Losing a spouse, it must have been devastating. How did you manage with Emma? The same way you managed with Mia after David died, I suppose, Tom said. You just keep going because you have to. Because they need you. Over the next few weeks, something beautiful began to happen. Tom and Lisa started to rebuild their friendship, carefully and slowly. They were both different people now than they had been in college, shaped by loss, strengthened by hardship, made wiser by pain. Mia and Emma became absolutely inseparable. They had sleepovers, shared toys, and created elaborate games together. Their friendship was pure and simple, untainted by the complicated history between their parents. Lisa was incredibly grateful for the stability and kindness Tom provided after such a traumatic experience. Tom helped her install better locks on her doors, taught Mia about stranger safety, and gave her his phone number to call anytime she felt scared or needed help. Lisa, in return, helped Emma with her art projects, cooked warm meals for Tom when his work ran late, and provided the gentle feminine presence that had been missing from their home since Sarah's death. Slowly, carefully, they began to heal each other's wounds, not as former lovers, but as two people who had survived tremendous loss and somehow found each other again. Daddy, Emma said one evening after Lisa and Mia had gone home, I think Miss Lisa is sad sometimes even when she's smiling. Why do you think that, sweetheart? Tom asked, impressed by his daughter's perceptiveness. She gets quiet when she thinks no one is looking and her eyes look far away. Like how you used to look after Mommy went to heaven. Tom was amazed by Emma's emotional intelligence. Sometimes grown-ups need time to heal from sad things that happened to them. Like when you helped my knee get better after I fell off my bike? Exactly like that, Tom smiled, pulling her close. Sometimes healing takes a long time, and sometimes people need help from friends to get better. As autumn turned to winter, their friendship deepened naturally. Tom and Lisa began taking the girls to parks together, sharing family dinners, and helping each other with the daily struggles of single parenthood. One evening, while the girls played dress-up in Emma's room, Lisa helped Tom with the dishes after dinner. You know, she said quietly, her voice thoughtful, when I was in the hospital getting chemotherapy, I used to dream about this sometimes. Tom stopped drying the plate in his hands. Dream about what? Simple things. Making dinner together, cleaning up afterward, listening to children play in the next room. Just being together. Being a normal family. Tom set down the plate and looked at her carefully. Lisa? I know it's complicated, she said quickly, as if afraid he might stop her from speaking. I know we can't just go back to how things were. Too much has happened. Too much time has passed. We're different people now. You're right, Tom said softly. We can't go back. But maybe we don't need to go back. Maybe we can move forward instead. Lisa looked at him with hope and fear mixed in her eyes. What do you mean? I mean, maybe we can build something new. Something based on who we are now, not who we were 15 years ago. On Christmas Eve, Tom made a decision that felt both natural and terrifying. He invited Lisa and Mia to spend the holiday with him and Emma. They had become like family over the past few months, and spending Christmas apart seemed wrong and artificial. The girls were absolutely thrilled, playing with their new dolls and books under the small Christmas tree. Tom and Lisa sat together on the couch, watching them with the contentment that comes from seeing children truly happy. "This is the most joy I've seen in Mia since David died," Lisa said softly, her eyes on her daughter's smiling face. "Emma hasn't been this happy since Sarah died," Tom replied, understanding exactly what Lisa meant. They looked at each other, both recognizing the significance of the moment and what they were building together. "Tom," Lisa said hesitantly, gathering her courage, "I need to tell you something important." Tom's heart began to race, not sure what to expect. "What is it?" "I never stopped loving you," she whispered, the words coming out in a rush. "Even when I was married to David, even when I thought I'd never see you again, even when I was sure you hated me. Part of my heart always belonged to you." Tom reached over and took her hand, feeling the warmth and familiarity of her touch. "Lisa, You don't have to say anything," she said quickly, afraid of rejection. "I just needed you to know. After everything that's happened, after almost losing Mia, I realized that life is too short for secrets and regrets." Tom squeezed her hand gently, his thumb tracing over her knuckles. "I loved Sarah deeply and completely," he said quietly. "But I never forgot you. I never stopped wondering what if. I never stopped loving the girl you were, and I think I'm falling in love with the woman you've become." Spring came early that year, bringing with it new growth and new possibilities. Tom had been thinking constantly about the future, about love, about family, about second chances and whether people really deserved them. He had been dating Lisa slowly and carefully for several months now. They both understood that they were completely different people than they had been in college. They had both loved deeply and lost tragically. They had both raised children alone and learned what really mattered in life. "Daddy," Emma said one morning over breakfast, her 9-year-old directness catching him off guard, "are you going to marry Miss Lisa?" Tom nearly choked on his coffee. "What makes you ask that, sweetheart?" "Because you smile more when she's here. And you hum while you're cooking when you know she's coming over. And Mia told me she thinks you should be her new daddy because you already love her like one." "It's not that simple, Emma. Adult relationships are complicated." "Why?" Emma asked with the logic that only children possess. "You love each other, don't you? And we all love being together. And Mia needs a daddy, and I've always wanted a sister. It seems simple to me." Sometimes children saw things far more clearly than adults ever could, cutting through all the fear and complexity to the heart of what mattered. That evening, after the girls were asleep, Tom and Lisa walked together in the same park where he had first found Mia 6 months earlier. The playground looked different now, peaceful and safe in the moonlight. "It's strange being here," Lisa said, looking around at the familiar equipment. "The worst day of my life happened here, but it also led me back to you." "Maybe it wasn't really the worst day," Tom said thoughtfully, stopping to face her. "Maybe it was the day everything finally started to make sense again." Lisa stopped walking and looked at him with curiosity and growing hope. "What do you mean?" Tom took a deep breath and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Lisa gasped, her hand flying to cover her mouth. "Tom? This isn't the ring I bought you 15 years ago," he said, his voice shaking slightly with emotion. "That ring was for 2 kids who thought love meant never facing any real challenges. This is a new ring for the people we are now. For the family we could become together." Tears began streaming down Lisa's face as she stared at the simple, beautiful ring. "We're not the same people we were in college," Tom continued, his voice growing stronger. "We're so much more now. We're stronger, wiser, more grateful. We know what loss feels like, so we won't take love for granted. We know how precious family is, so we'll protect what we build together." "Tom, what if I get sick again?" Lisa asked, voicing her deepest fear. "What if the cancer comes back? What if I can't give you the future you deserve? What if we get hit by lightning tomorrow? What if the world ends next week?" Tom replied gently. "Lisa, we can't live our lives paralyzed by fear of what might happen. We can only love each other as deeply as possible for as long as we're given." "Are you sure?" she whispered. "Are you sure you want this? Want us?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," Tom said, dropping to one knee right there in the park where their new life had begun. "Lisa Chin, will you marry me? Will you let me love you and Mia for the rest of my life?" "Yes," Lisa sobbed, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, yes, yes." 6 months later, on a beautiful Saturday morning in late summer, Tom Wilson married Lisa Chin in a small, intimate ceremony at the local park. The same bench where Tom used to sit and think about his lonely life was decorated with white flowers and ribbons. The same playground where Mia had been taken was now filled with the laughter of children celebrating their parents' wedding. Emma was the maid of honor, taking her role very seriously and making sure Lisa's dress looked perfect. Mia was the flower girl, scattering rose petals with the joy and excitement of a child who finally felt completely secure and loved. Officer Martinez attended the ceremony, bringing his wife and children. "You know," he told Tom during the reception, "in 30 years of police work, I've seen more bad things than I care to remember. But stories like yours remind me why I love this job. Sometimes the worst situations lead to the most beautiful outcomes." After the ceremony, the new family of 4 went home to a bigger apartment that Tom had found, one with enough space for everyone and a small yard where the girls could play safely. "Daddy Tom," Mia said that evening as they tucked both girls into the bed they now shared, "I'm glad those bad men took me that night." "Mia," Lisa said, shocked by her daughter's words. "Not because they were bad," Mia explained with the serious wisdom of a 7-year-old. "But because if they hadn't taken me, Daddy Tom wouldn't have found me, and you wouldn't have found him again, and we wouldn't be a real family now." Tom and Lisa looked at each other over their daughters' heads, both thinking the same thing. Sometimes children understood life better than anyone else possibly could. 5 years later, Tom and Lisa Wilson lived in a beautiful house with a big garden where both girls played safely every day. Tom had been promoted to engineering supervisor at his company, and Lisa taught at the elementary school that both Emma and Mia attended. Emma, now 14, often told the story of how her dad had rescued her little sister and found his long-lost love in the process. Mia, 12, remembered that scary night clearly but focused more on how safe and loved she had felt from the moment Tom wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. One evening, as Tom tucked Mia into bed in her own room, she looked up at him with the serious expression she got when she was thinking about big things. "Daddy Tom?" "Yes, sweetheart. Do you think everything happens for a reason?" Tom thought about that question for a long moment. He thought about that night 6 years ago when he was driving home exhausted from work and saw a little girl in trouble. He thought about how that one decision to stop and help had changed all their lives in ways he never could have imagined. "I think," he said carefully, "that bad things happen sometimes and we can't control that. But we can control how we respond to them. We can choose to be kind when it would be easier to look away. We can choose to help others even when it's scary or inconvenient. We can choose to love each other even when it feels risky. So you chose to help me, and then you and Mommy chose to love each other again?" "That's exactly right," Tom smiled, kissing her forehead. "We made good choices and those choices led to beautiful things." "I'm glad you always make good choices," Mia said sleepily, already drifting off to sleep. Later that night, Tom sat on the porch with Lisa, watching the stars and marveling at the path their lives had taken. "Do you ever wonder what our lives would have been like if I hadn't gotten sick all those years ago?" Lisa asked, her head resting on his shoulder. "Sometimes," Tom admitted honestly. "But then I think about Emma and how much I loved Sarah and how much you loved David. And I think about how strong we both became from going through such hard times. If things had been different, we might not have been ready for this kind of love." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "I mean the kind of love that knows exactly how precious it is," Tom explained. "The kind that doesn't take anything for granted because it's been earned through pain and loss and second chances." Lisa lifted her head to look at him. "The kind that's grateful every single day?" "Exactly." They sat in comfortable silence, grateful for their journey, all of it. The pain, the loss, the fear, the loneliness, and finally, the incredible joy of finding each other again and building something even more beautiful than what they had lost. Inside the house, 2 girls slept peacefully, dreaming of tomorrow's adventures and next week's plans, safe in the absolute knowledge that they were loved, protected, and part of a family that had been forged through kindness, courage, and the kind of second chances that only come to those brave enough to take them. And somewhere else in the city, other people were facing their own dark nights, their own moments of choice between safety and courage, between looking away and stepping forward to help. Maybe some of them would choose kindness when they could choose indifference. Maybe some of them would choose to help when they could choose to walk away. Because that's how the world becomes a better place, one act of kindness at a time, one person choosing to care about a stranger's child, one heart opening to the possibility of love after loss. One family showing another that happy endings really do exist for those brave enough to fight for them. Tom Wilson had learned that heroes aren't people with superpowers or special abilities. Heroes are ordinary people who make extraordinary choices when it matters most. And sometimes those choices don't just save one little girl from kidnappers, they save everyone involved, creating ripples of love and hope that spread far beyond what anyone could have ever imagined or planned. The end of their story was really just the beginning of a lifetime of love, laughter, and the kind of happiness that can only come after you've truly learned to appreciate how precious and fragile and beautiful life really is.